basically the same game.
It is actually.
It is?
Well, red and blue, but... So, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are essentially to introduce a younger generation, and the Pokemon Go fans into...
Oh, I could definitely tell it was supposed to be like a mix between Pokemon Go and the old
I think
Pokemon
I would
games.
like to play that. I'm not sure. I think I'd play it with Gabe. That being said, based on some of the complaints Jared has with Leaf Green, it seems like the type of game he would play, but he just doesn't want to.
He's more of a fan of the Pokemon TCG.
So his thing, he doesn't like random battles, which they don't have.
It's
really.
a lot better in Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah,
because you don't actually fight the Pokemon; you just use the controller.
Yeah.
No, I have heard it from one guy. It is actually annoying to do it at times because, like,
motion controls.
Motion controls. That's the one downside because he can go like this. The Pokeball will go flying way the hell over there. He tries doing it like this. He'll go way the hell over there. It's because he's probably holding it like this and throwing it like that, and it's probably causing it to think he's trying to throw it that way.
It might be. But yeah, like, so when I was recording Pokemon with VLC, I didn't notice, like, any choppy video, because there's, like, 3 frames in the
It probably
characters.
would work a lot better if it was, like, if this was a beefy computer. Like, if it was, like, an Alienware laptop or a Lenovo Legion laptop, it would probably be able to record it much better.
You know, as soon as I get, like, disposable income, I think I'll do that.
I think even the Alienware Alpha would actually be able to run it probably.
Just, like,
well.
immense disposable income.
Well, that's all about $500, the Alienware Alpha.
The Alienware Alpha is only $500.
It's not as expensive as their Area 51. That's over, I want to say, $2,000.
I might check out the 500 one.
Like, I think there's another one that's maybe $700, and I think that one is about as good, if not better. Like, well, actually, no, it is definitely better than the Alpha, and it is probably worth the cost. Just be careful with the Alpha because it has a big issue where if you actually shut it down completely, you'll likely get the yellow blinking light of death.
All right.
So only put it in sleep mode, or you're going to have a lot of issues with calling devil.
All right. Ugh. Just so you folks at home aren't confused, this is not the second part of the episode. I just couldn't think of an intro, so I decided to just roll
I
with
didn't
it.
even know you hit the record button.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
You basically did what you said you would do on Jared to me.
Kinda.
Just start the recording and not even tell anyone.
Yeah.
Wait, it was like, wait, shouldn't this be on the podcast? Like, this sounds like perfect discussion.
It
I was wondering
is.
why you didn't tell me. No, wait, podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, he didn't say, oh, this would be a good podcast topic.
Surprise, it is.
Well then.
Yeah. It's been about a month since me and Cody podcast, actually.
Well, podcast is solo. With each other, I should say.
No, like with me and you.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I think if it was just the two of us, I think it was actually about a month and a half, maybe 2 months.
Probably.
That a new book for the discussion topics?
I could have sworn I showed you this before, but yeah.
I actually don't think you have.
Yeah, this is where I put all the topics. I'm actually really glad I had this book because I completely forgot.
Is it sad that as soon as I know the camera's running, I'm not exhausted anymore?
Oh wow.
Apparently, I don't have. I have the anti-stage fright. I have more energy when I'm on the spot.
You're here to put on a show.
That's
you
right.
are Yuya from Arc 5.
Yes. Or as some people like to call it, Arc V.
Yes.
I know one guy who calls Yu-Gi-Oh! V Brains. I'm like, it's brains. They even say brains in the show.
I think I'm going to have to do that now.
It
Just to
is
piss
so-
people off.
Oh, you're going to definitely have some people pissed off at you. Trust me. That much I do know.
Yu-Gi-Oh! V-Rains.
I still think the Japanese version sounds better than the English version. When they log into Link Brains, it sounds so much better in the Japanese version.
If you're watching Yu-Gi-Oh, you're probably watching Japanese anyway.
Yeah, unless you're like a kid and you're just getting into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Watching 4Kids. What, are you gonna shock blast all of us?
Well, I have watched the 4Kids dub, and apparently Zexal had a Funimation dub.
I heard that too. They switched.
It would have probably been much better with Funimation if they would have changed it to that, because
that being said,
it wouldn't have been as censored.
They still censor.
Yeah, but they would also have an uncensored version, like most likely anyway.
I don't think so for Zexal.
Well, considering that Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Kai, they both have family-friendly PG versions and the versions that air on Toonami's Adult Swim.
So does Dragon Ball set the precedent for every anime out there?
No, I'm just saying that there might have been two different versions in the work with Funimation.
All right.
I think the only reason Zexal went back to 4K media is because that Konami took in 4Kids as 4K media. Because 4Kids actually went out of business due to issues with TV Tokyo. Do you know when that was?
I do not, actually.
It was actually because of 5Ds. 4Kids was holding out their profits from, I think it was from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and that's why 5Ds ended up getting canceled. I don't know why they didn't cancel GX Season 4, though. Like, I think that would have been a good one to dub.
Probably too dark.
It was definitely too dark, but Brains is also very dark. They changed the lip flops in Brains. Why can't they just change the lip flops in GX? They changed it in Zexal too. They even made one of the characters look way less intense.
Intense in what way? Describe this character.
Pure anger in his face in the Japanese version. In the English version, he looked like he was just determined to win.
What character is this?
In Arc 5, his English name is Shea Obsidian. I can't remember his Japanese name.
I'm gonna look this up.
I think it had something to do with the color of black in Japanese. It was one of the forms of saying black.
Alright. Shea Obsidian.
Honestly, I preferred Arc 5 more than in the Japanese version than I did in the English one.
Does this sound familiar? Siyun Kurosaki.
Kurosaki does sound very familiar.
Alright. Let me look. His intense face. I'm assuming this is the English, because that doesn't seem all that intense.
No. That is taking place in the middle of a duel between Yuya and basically the rival. Declan, aka Rei Giacomo. He was in the middle of a 3-on-1 handicap duel. It was when he was first introduced.
This might be one of those things where I have to actually watch it to actually find it.
It might be.
Oh, the fan art.
You could look up a video saying how 4Kids or 4K Media censored Arc 5.
Maybe later. Oh, is this the intense? Hold on. The crack.
No.
Okay. Yeah, maybe later. If I find it, I'll put it up.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, we're drinking sodas.
Well,
we're always eating on this podcast.
Not always. I don't think we ate in the first one I was in, did we?
Yes, we did, actually.
Oh.
We were finishing up some chips, actually.
Yeah, that sounds about right. We're sorry we were such patient.
Them boys always eat. Damn.
We're sorry we're such patient on this podcast, everybody. We had a pretty big ham, actually, last night, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was probably for Christmas, but we were also kind of ready for food at the moment, so...
Just like a super early Christmas dinner?
No, because we go over to our dad's for Christmas dinner.
Oh.
He made last year a bunch of smoked ribs, and those were really good.
Mm. Apparently,
for my mother, they were too sweet.
Getting some actual more discussion. More of what you're used to with Cody. I asked you earlier for a question. Lay that question on me.
I wasn't really sure of any questions I could ask because I don't know enough about the channel to know what I don't what I want to know.
Wait.
So I could only think of things that had already popped up in my head before. One of which was one of the co-creators of the channel, Jared and his bad logic.
So, I hope you realize...
That's in all honesty, more interesting than anything that I could think of.
I hope you realize that what you just said is the perfect basis for a question. Hey, I don't know enough about this channel. Maybe I should ask him.
Well, I wouldn't be sure what to ask. I'm not good at asking questions, you know.
Alright, fine. Jared's bad logic. Do you want, like, a specific example, or...?
I think I sent it to your Discord, I know I sent it to your Discord.
That one story.
Yeah, about so in our Discord, in his Discord channel, in his Discord server, he has a bunch of channels for each card game. He named it TCG Council, and I went to go and update one of the card game areas, and apparently when I scrolled up to check and see if they were still there, it turned out he deleted the previous ones. So I go up to our DMs and ask, hey, why'd you delete the previous update? He tells me that it's meant for the newer stuff only. And I'm like, could you at least make an archive channel? Otherwise, how are people going to know how to, or what packs they need to upgrade their decks? He said, look it up. As soon as I sent that to Jonas a couple weeks later, he's like, then what's the point of the channel? That's more or less what he said. It might have been different wording.
So
I'm like, you've got a good point there. What is the point of the channel? I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't say anything.
There's two things. There's two things about that.
I definitely probably left out some details because I'm very forgetful. So
there's that actually. Which one do I explain first? Well, actually, no. Definitely I need to do this one. Read this real quick.
Jared's useless channels.
That was legit one of the things I thought that we should talk about.
And that's basically what I just discussed.
Yeah, you provided the perfect segue into it.
Yeah, he actually, speaking of that, he also made a completely useless server, specifically for this channel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's really no point, because, honestly...
Actually, not this channel. I'll explain that a little bit later.
Oh?
But I should probably explain what I was going to explain earlier.
The bad channel? Or the useless channel, rather?
So, a pet peeve of mine, maybe it's just me, but I feel like on something like Discord, you probably shouldn't delete anything ever, unless it's, legitimately...
offensive or unneeded.
Or, you uploaded it by mistake. It's a thread-based platform. You don't snip the thread in places just because it's too long. You don't delete a forum because it's too long. Yeah,
no, I can definitely get behind what you're saying there, because, what if there's an FAQ and an admin just decided, oh, you know what, this question's not being asked of us anymore. May as well just delete it and make room for new questions that are frequently asked.
Hey, I want to know the answer to this question that doesn't get asked often. Oh, shoot. Damn.
Then you guys, oh shit, I probably should have left it. This is amazingly perfect, because you need to show this to Jared before it goes on air, so we can just show him now, how bad this is. That his channels have no purpose to them.
Oh yeah. So I should continue explaining though. Jared also has a habit of creating entire servers and then making He organizes very well. I'll give him that.
That I will. Yes, they are very, very organized.
But he over-organizes. So,
and he also tries to put everybody else in charge of things that he should be working on.
yes, I'll get to that later though. Let me give you an analogy before I explain in detail. Imagine you need to sort like different types of fruit, like apples, oranges, bananas, grapes. A normal person would like, okay, I have 10 baskets actually, but I only really need 4. I'll label 1 apples, 1 oranges, 1 grapes, 1 bananas, and then I'll put each fruit in each one. Jared is the type of person who would use all 10 of those baskets, probably order some more, put like, okay, apple seeds in this one, cut apples in this one, deformed apples in this one, and perfect apples in this one. And then banana stems in this one, banana peels in that one. He over-organizes to the point where most of it becomes useless. So like, TCG Council, Jared's server, I don't know what goes on in there anymore. I left.
I know you left it. I saw that.
I have a habit of leaving anything Jared makes.
I know you do, except the events and groups, because he just keeps forcibly adding you to it every time you leave.
Well, I haven't read since the last thing I posted, so he has like different categories for each card game that we have played or play. So like there's one category for Yu-Gi-Oh, one category for Magic, one for Force of Will, stuff like that. In each of those categories, they all have these same 5 channels, I think?
Yes.
Alright, so...
There's an updates channel, I think there's even an events channel, there's a general chat for it. Like, in all honesty, there's no point to the general chats for specific card games. Yeah. That's what the regular general chat is for.
Yeah, so like each one has an updates channel, each one has a general chat, each one has a rulings channel, each one has, what was the other one? It was like really useless.
I'm not sure, but the only 2 that I can really see a use for in that is the updates and the rulings.
I think the rulings is only useless except for in like Yu-Gi-Oh, where the rule book is ever expanding.
Well, Magic too sometimes, in some applicable cases.
I guess, yeah. Oh, there's a deck building tips in each one.
Yeah, that is also. Like,
events.
It could be useful, but it's all like there's really no point to it because.
There's actually, so there's probably like 6 or 7 actually, because there's definitely a few I'm missing. One was like completely useless.
I'd have to check my Discord, but I didn't bring my computer, so.
And so, I actually asked them before I joined again, get into why I left in the first place a little later. But one thing I asked them before I joined was like, hey, you have a habit of deleting everything, even if it's actually useful. Are you I notice you have an updates channel where you want people to post like, okay, this is the new stuff coming out, or this info just got dropped. Are you going to be deleting those too? He was like, no. Okay.
As I mentioned earlier,
that was not true.
Yes, he deleted it because he thought it was redundant and unneeded. So right there, he had already broken his word to Jonas that he wouldn't delete anything in the updates channels.
It's kind of, especially for something like that, if you really are just having it for the new stuff, and your reason behind it is you can just look it up, there's no point to that channel. In my opinion, that channel should be like, okay, you post all the stuff, and then if someone wants to go back, they can be like, okay, I could have swore there was like this specific card that could help this strategy that's coming out now. Maybe, oh, okay, this sounds familiar. I can go to this specific place in the update log. Okay, yes, this is the set that specific card is in. That I may need to look up for my deck. I don't know, I think maybe I'm the weird one. It's very real that I could be the weird one, and I could just be like on a high horse or something. But
I doubt it, considering I also seem to have a few issues with how Jared runs his server.
Well, it's also it's very real that we could both be on the same high horse.
Pretty good.
This horse is very big. Another thing, I guess while we're on the topic of Jared and his channels, or his servers actually. Yes, we did transition into Discord for those of you lost. So, like Cody kind of mentioned earlier, Jared has a habit of expecting other people to run his servers, but at the same time being the one who has the final say in everything, with no back and forth. He essentially wants to be the king without actually having to do the work.
I think that's how he thinks a king works. They don't do anything in his mind. They just watch other people do their dirty work. I don't know if he understands how monarchy actually works.
He wants to be the judge and the jury, but not the executor. Wait. No, there's another word I'm looking for. He essentially wants to be like the final say in Parliament, but not actually have to discuss like Parliament. What is that word? Judge, jury, and...
Executioner. That's the only other thing.
That may be what I'm thinking of.
Prosecutor. It's the only thing I can think of.
I don't know.
It's either executioner or prosecutor. It's one of those two. Because those are the only three roles that aren't defending. Because the...
Well, no, I'm thinking of like... So I thought that saying related to like a bit like how we have three branches of government. Like one makes the laws, one enforces the laws, one judges based on the laws. So essentially he'd be the judicial branch and the legislative branch without being the president.
Branch.
Yeah, the one who actually makes sure those laws are put into place.
I bet Jared would love to listen to this podcast and try disproving every single one of these points.
He probably is. Like right now.
Like if he was once as he hacks your computer and he's listening into this whole thing and then calls you on Discord. And he's like, now I hear what you're saying about me. You just shut up.
Okay, first off, Jared,
I
why...
know, Jared's not the type of person who would be able to hack anything.
You put that much effort into hacking my computer, but you can't make a damn logo? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, speaking of the logo, he actually, as Jonas mentioned, he was actually in charge of making the logo.
Yeah.
He decided to put a friend of ours in charge of making the logo instead.
I could have sworn we explained that, actually.
I know, but I can't remember if we did or not.
If not, we definitely did. On Monday, Gabe came over, and we had a podcast.
Oh?
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. He surprised me.
He did?
Yes, it cements my list further, actually.
Only thing, except for the point where I'm at.
So the list is based on who I would want to appear, and based on number, what order. And... yeah, I mean, not to diss you, but...
Honestly, I'd say I've been doing a pretty good job, even though I am exhausted.
You have. In fact, before I go further, as much as I bash on Jared on this show...
As much as everyone on the show bashes on Jared, you mean?
In fact, as much as I bash on everyone on this show...
That sounds much better.
I want you guys to understand... that they're still my friends. In fact, actually...
We could actually try making a diss track for everybody. Like, have everyone try making a diss track. We just put it, and we just show it to each other.
That sounds like the cringiest thing to ever grace God's green earth.
It would definitely be the cringiest thing, but it would also be the most hilarious thing.
In fact, actually, the second podcast was supposed to be an antithesis to episode 0, where in episode 0 we just bash on everyone. In technically episode 1, we were supposed to say like why we like each of our friends. And I still want to do that. The problem is, y'all motherfuckers can't think of one thing other than, oh, he plays Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, apparently Jared quit.
To say nice about another person. Which I think is complete BS. That's not your friend, then. You're an acquaintance.
According to Jared, that's the only reason any of us became friends.
Yeah.
It was because of Yu-Gi-Oh!
See, that makes me question if we're even friends. Like, there's a ton of things I could think of that even about Jared, that I like about him. For instance, I really like the fact that there's someone I can just go all out with in terms of jokes. Not everyone appreciates, like, 9/11 jokes or rape jokes and things like that.
I know one person who would definitely be able to get behind
You're probably
those.
thinking of Jacob.
Yes, 100%. That's the only person I can think of in our group that would actually get 100% behind those jokes.
And, I mean, I understand why people get offended, but at the same time,
I get offended.
I understand
that because they're so bad, they're hilarious.
I understand that jokes are jokes, and I'm glad I have a friend that also understands that jokes are jokes and is not afraid to make jokes.
Yeah, but when it's overdone though, that's when it's like, okay, no, it's kind of
there's a fine line on those kind of things.
Like Jacob, he makes those jokes quite often, but he also knows when to quit.
Yeah,
but when he doesn't quit, he knows how to continue making them kind of somewhat funny.
But yeah, like I mentioned, just because I bash on them doesn't mean they're not my friends, or at least I consider them my friends. Like I explained, they play Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not, in my opinion, your one reason for why they're your friends. They're probably not your friend then. I actually forgot something that was supposed to segue into.
Oh, you forgot what it was supposed to segue into?
Yes, it was supposed to be. It's obviously more negative, but
I think this is gonna. We have to rename this. We have to name these podcasts the Nega Podcasts because of all the negativity in them. Because we just bash on everybody. Literally, everybody just bashes on each other sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I should say.
You weren't there for the Gabe podcast then.
I know, he's the only. He's probably the only person who isn't capable of bashing on anybody.
You also weren't there for the Alec podcast.
Oh, Alec was?
He had a a podcast with me, at least. And we just talked about D&D. I mean, I guess I did kind of bash on, like, my old GM, but I think one thing, back to my earlier friends topic, what makes it hard to hang out with Jared is that he's a one-thing friend. I think you were there when I had that revelation.
I'm not sure if I was.
So I often question if I'm even friends with Jared. And immediately afterwards, I'm usually questioning, okay, why am I questioning that with only Jared, but not like the rest of my friends?
Because we actually don't mind doing things with everybody. Anything other than just card games.
Yes. So I remember I asked you, like, hey, what do you do with Jared besides play D&D? I
don't even do that anymore.
Yeah, and then we had the revelation, okay, each person, if at all, only does one thing with Jared. Whereas, like, we play card games, but
the thing is, though, Jared isn't even willing to try out games that I'm interested in. And at the same time, he also tries to force me into doing games that he wants me to try. So I'm like,
I had a lengthy discussion. Well, more of a rant about that on the Gabe podcast.
Which none of these are still up on the channel, unfortunately.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. Darn.
I seem to have that effect on people.
Yeah. Each of my friends has their own quirks that I like about them.
Oh, I didn't know we had superpowers.
Yeah.
Do you get the reference?
Yeah, I do. I'm ashamed, to be honest. I'm very ashamed. I'm very ashamed.
You kind of walk into it.
Time to leave.
Great. He just left there. Well, I guess it's just me now. Like, you can't deny you kind of did walk into it.
Yeah.
Because you know I watch My Hero Academia.
Yep.
you should have saw that coming. Like, you know I make these cringy jokes at times.
Anyway.
How much do you want to bet that the audience just cringed so hard when I said that?
I don't have to bet. They'll probably either leave a comment or dislike the video.
No, I think the cringe is actually what makes them like the video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a cringe culture. Oh. Anyway, back to my topic. At least for that actually segues into one thing I did forget to say during my earlier rant about liking Friends. At least as far as the Insane group goes. Each of you guys is like worlds apart. Something I noticed with like the Sane group is that even though they may be better suited for something like this, I think I'd rather have you guys on.
Because it's a lot more crazy and exciting.
Each of you guys has like your own. You guys are worlds apart, like I said. Like the Sane group, they're cool, but I noticed there's actually a lot of similarities between them. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, it's definitely not a bad thing.
And they're definitely a different enough that you can distinguish it between them. But like you next to Gabe is like a completely different planet, to be honest.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think Jacob is actually the furthest away from everybody.
Jacob is actually the normalest person.
I know. That's why I said he's probably the furthest away from every one of us.
And in fact, that makes him the most unique, actually, because he is the normalest person.
If you don't count the constant 9/11 and bad jokes.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily make you not normal. That just makes you brave and somewhat stupid.
Well, you're friend of the wrong person. Prepare to get a bullet to the head. You're gonna have to censor that one.
2018 jokes. Anyway, and if I'm ever bashing on you guys, or if episode 0 ever leaves a bad taste in your mouth because of how I'm ranking you guys, I want you guys to understand that doesn't mean I wouldn't want you on here. Well, except in the case of Colin. And I mean, like, half of it isn't his fault, but like, man, there's some things that are learned behaviors, and I don't wish to have those behaviors manifest on this podcast. But I can discuss that with Colin face to face. You guys, even if you guys aren't good at podcasting, you guys are interesting enough that it probably makes the podcast a bit more interesting than where if I brought someone on like, well, you don't know their names. Each of you guys brings something new to the table that makes the podcast. It brings a certain challenge to doing the podcast, but that challenge makes it so much more interesting than if I brought someone that probably would be able to handle something like this. I'm going to give you an example of some things that are challenging. Good and bad qualities of you guys. So Gabe stutters a lot.
Yes, I have to say Gabe's probably his biggest issue is just the stammering.
That makes everything he wants to say take like 1.5 times longer. But he eventually does get to the point. You are the embodiment of ADHD.
That is not the lie. Unless I have my meds, then I'm a little bit better. Like, I'm a lot better if I have my meds.
The amount of times in the past 5 minutes that I've had to, like, try and gain back control.
I just keep getting you further and further away.
It's insane. And even the amount of times I've, like, forgotten what I'm saying.
I
because
just take
you
control.
said something. I make the mistake of letting you say something.
Yep. Oh man, my laughter is just peaking your microphone right now. I have such a loud laugh, I think.
I can normalize this if need be.
If needed, I'll just move away when I start laughing. I'll just fall back like this.
No, that's fine. I can normalize it. Make it a little less peaky. It essentially, like, brings other pieces of audio up to a certain level, and then others down to that level.
Now, here's the good part of me being that embodiment of ADHD. There's almost never any silence.
Yes, I don't have to edit out any breaks in silence.
Yeah, unless we actually take a break, because I literally just don't stop talking.
Yeah, you guys don't ever hear it, but there's been times where, like with other people, we'll have like huge I mean, maybe not that huge, but like big breaks in silence. But you don't hear it because like just cut it out. Whereas with Cody, it's like nonstop.
Yes. So like if Jonas stops talking, I'll just pick up where he left off and just start saying something random.
So like an hour-long podcast with like, say, Alec might be an hour and 15 minutes, but I actually just cut out some of the silence. Whereas an hour-long podcast with Cody is probably an hour-long podcast with Cody.
Yes. That is that's probably why I say I'm pretty decent, because it makes it so you don't have to edit as much. Because there's not as many big breaks in silence. Like, it's maybe a 10-15 second break and then boom, we're back to talking again.
There's also not a lot. We've definitely said some things, or at least I know I have, said some things that I probably wouldn't put on the podcast. I'm actually surprised to say that you don't have that problem. There's not, at least in my opinion, there's not too much that you've said that it's probably better to leave off the podcast. Which is surprising because you talk like faster than you think. While on the topic of complimenting friends, I should probably compliment Jared some more so people don't think I'm just bashing on him.
You make it seem like you don't like Jared very much.
I do.
I know, but you keep bashing on him, so it's like, does this guy really even like this Jack Winters?
Jared's just like hit or miss. He's like,
you're the peak his interest, or he's just, nah, I'm done. I'm leaving.
The times I've been like legitimately enjoying my time with Jared are some of the funnest I've ever had. Like, okay, we're supposed to be doing gaming, and like I can think of some times where like it's the funniest stuff I've ever heard. I still think fondly of, well, you're not gonna get the reference, but like Ku Klux Ravioli. That was, in my opinion, one of the best moments
of that
session.
It. Is it supposed to be like?
You probably don't.
I know what Ku Klux Ravioli. I get the reference to the KKK.
Mm-hmm.
That much was obvious.
All right.
The question, what I'm not sure if I'm getting it right on, is the ravioli, but like Chef Boyardee style.
That actually has no importance on the actual joke.
Okay, so I didn't. So I only got the first.
All right.
There.
Yeah.
So I got half of it.
If the gaming goes up, people will immediately know the reference.
I don't know it at all.
But until it goes up, at least, there's a very real possibility that this may go up before that does. And this is the 7th overall session, I believe.
For me, this is the third one I've been on.
And this is probably like what, the 16th episode or something?
Wait, have we really been talking for over 40 minutes?
Yes, we have.
Holy shit. And I was complaining earlier about how slow time was crawling. It was at snail's pace earlier.
Yeah.
Ever since it feels like we've only been talking about maybe 20 minutes.
As it turns out, this is actually fun.
I know. I learned that when I did it a couple weeks ago. Well, a couple months ago. This is why I find podcasting so much fun.
Yes. Me too, actually. Who knew that just talking would be this much fun?
Well, that's probably the reason why I'm decent in a podcast. Like ADHD, I just talk, right? Because I can just talk nonstop.
You also jump around a lot.
That too.
Like, that's actually more of what I'm getting at when I talk about you having ADHD. But
what about the other qualities? Like, what about of Jacob?
Jacob, I haven't actually podcasted with yet, so I don't know what his quirk is.
Oh, you don't know what his superpower is?
No, I don't. His power is the ability to be normal.
He walked into the joke again. He walked into the cringy joke a second time.
Well, I knew I was walking into it this time, though. His power is...
my trap card.
In fact, I actually kind of played off that joke, but you were talking, so you missed it.
Well, you still triggered my trap card.
Yeah.
You triggered the same trap twice. The first one was unintentional, the second one was intentional. Yeah, what is that meme about? I don't think that meme is anywhere near as famous as Over 9,000, is it?
Probably not.
I didn't think so, but you hear it all the time. Like when someone makes a big old goofy mistake, they say, "Ha! You triggered my trap card."
I think that's like Actually, I think 9000 might be more popular.
It's definitely more popular because Dragon Ball Z's been around way longer.
Well, the Yu-Gi-Oh one I can think of specifically being mentioned by like fans of anime and who know that trope.
I think some people say it just because they heard it somewhere, and they think it's a funny joke. I guarantee you, some of the people who use that joke don't even know what Yu-Gi-Oh is.
Yu-Gi-Oh actually was pretty popular at one point.
Oh, I know it was really popular, but I can already tell you that some of the people who use that joke don't even know what it actually means.
I still think they might be like fans of anime who recognize the trope at least.
Oh, that meme's probably made an appearance in some anime.
I know for a fact because you actually showed me. I think it was like Fairy Tail or something, where they actually did the exact same thing.
Wait, really?
Yes.
When did I do that?
It was actually during a game night.
Really?
Remember when those happened?
Yeah, we haven't done one of those in a while.
We're gonna wrap this up.
Good. We're done with the podcasting.
I've been Fake Namerson.
This is Cody Knight.
Yep. There's been no intro, and we'll see you guys later.
Unintentional no intro. Later.